Hello from Mindpads. TOK Essay November 2017. Topic number 4. Areas of knowledge have methods for testing and supporting knowledge claims. How can we know that these methods themselves are reliable? Develop your answer with reference to two areas of knowledge. A skeptic is one who is willing to question any knowledge claim, asking for clarity in definition, consistency in logic, and adequacy of evidence. Knowledge question 1. What are the common methods for testing and supporting knowledge claims? The knowledge claims use one or more of the justifiers for testing and support, the most common being abductive reasoning, deduction, empiricism, induction, Occam's razor, pragmatism, probability theory, scientific method, and logical positivism. Besides those mentioned earlier, there are advocates of coherentism for circular horn of the trilemma, foundationalists relying on the axiomatic argument, and champions of the fallibilism who point out that conjectural theories can be held as long as they have not been refuted. More commonly, justification to support the claim, reduce or remove doubt, uses empiricism, which is evidence of the senses, authoritative testimony, the appeal to criteria on authority, or logical deduction. Based on the fundamental principle of empiricism, the experimental method, widely used in natural and social sciences, investigates causal relationships among variables from the real world to support or negate knowledge claims. The methods that make use of basic axioms, establish scientific laws, and previous experimental results to test and support knowledge claims are semi-empirical in nature. For additional content, read more at Mindpads.org. Knowledge question 2. To what extent are the methods of testing and supporting knowledge claims stress on language and clarity in definition? V.W. Quine, in his celebrated paper, The Two Dogmas of Empiricism, stressed on distinction between analytic statements and synthetic statements. The truth or falsehood in analytic statements is function of the meanings of the words in statements, whereas in synthetic statements, the truth or falsehood of the statement is the function of the context, state, or affairs of the situation. He also argued against reductionism, that the statements get the meaning from logical construction of terms, but the ones which refer exclusively to immediate experience. Charles Sanders Peirce has insisted on the similar theme that axioms are not appropriate roots, but synthetic statements. Norwood Russell Hanson first coined the term theory-laden character of observation, suggesting the idea that observation is dependent on the initial set conceptual framework of the observer. Basically, you will look only for what you have thought or known or conceptualized. Our preconceptions affect our observation and description. Hansen gives the example of Brahe and Kepler observing the dawn and seeing a different sunrise despite the same physiological phenomenon. Knowledge question 3. Are the methods of testing and supporting knowledge claims consistent in applying reason and logic? As seen clearly in the case of inductive reasoning, the hypothesis construction is done on the basis of current knowledge and predictions, but there may exist a large number of incomprehensible and complex alternatives for each accepted explanation of a phenomenon. There is always a tendency to load weak and inadequate explanations, which ad hoc hypotheses, to prevent them from being falsified, thus preferring and generating more and more simpler theories to more complex ones because they are more testable. And yet, Charles Sanders Peirce postulates through the doctrine of fallibilism that the rationality of scientific method does not depend on the certainty of its conclusions, but on the self-corrective character, thus making the conclusions of science always tentative. It is only with detection and correction of its own mistakes scientific method actually leads to the discovery of the truth. Peirce further says that a hypothesis is judged and selected for testing because it offers, via its trial, to expedite and economize the inquiry process itself towards new truths, first of all by being testable, and also further economies in terms of cost, value, relationships among guesses, which are hypotheses, Here, considerations such as probability are absent from the treatment of abduction and the critical level come into play. Knowledge question 4. How far can the methods of testing and supporting knowledge claims be dependent on the adequacy of evidence? Evidence through observations or data inspire and lend support to help refute scientific hypotheses and theories. Evidence has been the foundational element for testing and hypotheses and theories in areas of natural sciences, social sciences, and history. This knowledge, built over centuries, has been continuously tested and refined through very rigorous scientific method that derives its power and legitimacy from evidence. However, in the past century or so, doubts have been raised on the efficacy of tests and methods based entirely on evidence. In 1958, Norwood Hanson, in Patterns of Discovery, undermined the division of observation versus theory, as one can predict, collect, prioritize, and assess all data via some horizon of expectation set by a theory. Thus, any data set, the direct observations, the scientific facts, is laden with theory. Besides this, the theories with subject matter, consisting of ideas rather than empirical data, are only equipped with elementary theorems and statements that, of course, cannot possibly be scientifically tested through empirical observation. Also, there exist theories, even in natural sciences, with stipulative definitions and conventions, idealizations, and non-observable entities that make claims that are not empirical, which basically means that cannot be tested by means of observation or experimentation. That's all for today. Thank you for watching. For additional content, visit us at Mindpads.org, and for any queries, write to us at Mindpads.org@gmail.com.